You know, there's so many delicious types of fish and seafood that you can find sustainably, and in some cases, it's even very easy. Scallops are one of those where they're delicious, they're quick, you can get them straight out of the freezer if you want to keep them on hand in your sea pantry. Quick, easy, and simple, and really sustainable for the most part. You can find them wild. You can actually get them Fair Trade Certified if you get them from Bristol Seafood out of Maine, and you can also find them sustainably farmed. So it really ultimately is the perfect seafood. You can also get different sizes. So you can see that these are a large scallop. They're actually dry packed, and that's one of the things that you want to look for is a quick frozen scallop or one that's dry packed, because otherwise, if it's packed in water, it's going to have a lot of water in it, almost like a sponge, and it won't sear very well. Now, the next thing that you'll want to do is make sure that they're really well dried off, and look at this. You'll see that they each have this little muscle on the side that you're going to want to remove. So with each scallop, make sure that you look for that very little muscle on the side and just make sure that you take that off. Sometimes it'll have it, sometimes it won't. So don't worry if you're sort of looking around and around for it and you don't see that little white spot. Don't worry about it, but if you can, go ahead and take it off. And you'll set that aside. It's actually a little bit chewier and it'll keep you from getting those nice and tender. Now, the next thing about this recipe, once you've got the scallops nice and dry, is you're going to want to toast some cumin. And I brought this over because I wanted you to see these cumin seeds, how they just lightly start to toast, and oh my gosh, so much aroma off of them. So get a mortar and pestle or a spice grinder. Don't use your coffee grinder though, and just grind them up until they're just in a fine, nice little powder. It's not the same when you get them already pre-ground. It actually loses a lot of its flavor and a lot of its sweetness. So that's the first step, is get that cumin toasted, cooled, and ground. And then the next thing is we're going to take a little bit of sesame oil, and it's fine if you want to get a little sesame chili oil or a toasted sesame oil. Either are good. We just want to bring out that beautiful flavor. And then we're also going to have some ground ginger, actually grated ginger, in this recipe. Now you can see I've got this little nub of ginger. Inevitably, we always have to buy this great big piece, but don't throw it away. Use it and then throw it in the freezer because it's the perfect pantry item too. And then all you have to do is I use my microplane grate zester. I don't even bother to peel it. And then I just grate it into my sesame oil. I've got some actually that's already done. So I'm going to keep that little nub. We'll put that into our mixture here. And so easy. All I want to do is just mix it together really lightly and then toss the scallops in. You'll see it doesn't take very much to coat these really lightly. You can actually put these in the refrigerator, let them marinate a little bit. You can see how they're just getting coated. They don't need any seasoning at this point. We're just going to coat them, put them into the fridge, and just let them sit for a little bit. So let me put them in here. Keep them nice and cold, because the trick with seafood is we always want to cook it very, very cold in a hot pan. Now in the meantime, I also need to roast a bell pepper. And you'll see that I've let this get nice and blackened, cool at room temperature, and then what I want you to do is just peel off that. See how the skin just peels off? You don't need to cover it, you don't need to wrap it in plastic wrap or cover it with a paper towel, because look it, that skin is just gonna steam and it's gonna give us that great kind of roasted flavor. And I've got some of that already chopped here. So here's what I'm going to do. This recipe is for an amazing butter leaf salad with tomatoes, the seared scallops, and this delicious vinaigrette that's made from these ingredients. So we're going to take and we're going to put some roasted red bell pepper into a blender along with some chopped Kalamata olives. This reminds me almost of like if I was in the south of France and I kind of had a niçoise style dressing. I've got some red wine vinegar, some Dijon mustard, and then the last bit of this is our ground cumin. Now what you're going to want to do is just get the blender going, Make sure that you mix it all very well while you add a little bit of oil, just until it becomes this delicious, consistent, very, very thickened, and you can see taking on the flavor and the thickness and the color of those Kalamata olives. So completely done, very quick, and you can make it ahead if you want to. So the next thing is I want you to see the scallops. Because the thing about this, the success and the trick of the scallops is all going to be about how hot you sear that pan. So I've got very, very hot pan, a little bit of oil, and the trick here is get them in the pan and then let them sear. And it's only going to take a couple of minutes per side. So it's literally going to get in the pan, and then as soon as it's ready, it's going to lift off. Now you can use a nonstick pan if you'd like to. That'll definitely make your job easier. But I want to show you this because now I've got this beautiful butter leaf lettuce. I'm going to take and just lay over the scallops, over the lettuce. And what you'll notice is these scallops are just sort of spring back to the touch. One of the things that happens very quickly is that the scallops can get overcooked. We definitely don't want to do that. So we're going to put these onto the top of the salad. I'm going to then go ahead and season it with a little bit of salt and pepper because we want to bring out that sweetness. One trick here is to always bring out the sweetness of the lettuce, the tomato. You can use any sort of tomato that you want. Little vine-ripened cherry tomatoes are what I've used for the day. I'm going to season this with a little bit of pepper. And then what I like to do is just serve the dressing on the side so that each person can get a little drizzle of the dressing to go with it. A delicious, sustainable scallop. It can come straight from the Sea Pantry. Cumin glazed scallops over butter leaf lettuce.